All right, it is Friday, so it is time to review a few movies before we get to the weekend. So we have Michael Cook joining us now, and we have The Greatest Beer Run Ever and Blonde.
Blonde, yes.
All right, so which one do we want to start with?
Let's start off with Blonde first. This premiered this week on Netflix. It's the latest biopic of movie screen icon Marilyn Monroe. Here, Marilyn Monroe is played by Ana de Armas. And we kind of start off with a standard biopic. We see her as a young girl with her mother who is mentally unstable, and then we follow her career as she goes to Hollywood, encounters just horrific, casting couches and people that are trying to exploit her. The movie goes along with her relationships with baseball player Joe DiMaggio and then playwright Arthur Miller. It's based on a fictionalized novel that came out back in 1999, and there are a lot of moments in this movie that apparently really didn't happen. Look, I'll just go ahead and say from the beginning, I just hated this movie.
I could tell the way you were going.
I can't even get too much more in the description because it kind of goes through the standard fare of telling her story, but it just felt manipulative. It felt degrading toward Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
They constantly portrayed her as the victim over and over and over again. It got repetitive. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes long, and you feel it. I mean, at least at home you could pause it and step away from the screen, and then it jumps to like it's black and white, and then it's in color and different, with no rhyme or reason, just like trying to be artistic.
So it's not based on a true story.
Well, it's the basic pieces are there, but then
there's some fictional
things
stuff
in there that apparently just didn't quite happen.
That's interesting.
In its defense, I'll say Ana de Armas looks. You feel like it's her, so I'll give credit to her. Although her accent comes through at times the wrong. It's like that's not really how Marilyn sounds. So I just hated this movie. Don't waste your time.
Oh my gosh!
It's a 3 out of 10 for me.
I don't know if I've ever seen you give it 3 before.
I was just so angry with this movie, how bad it was.
All right. Well, hopefully, I've never seen anything about this, but the title of this is intriguing.
The great title, The Greatest Beer Run Ever. This is also based on a true story. It's set in 1967. A young man played by Zac Efron. He sort of kicks about, doesn't have a real job. He's a former merchant marine, but lives at home with his parents. He has an idea that, some of his friends over in Vietnam, he supports the war at that time along with his family. He's like, you know what, I'm going to go over there and take my friends a beer. I'm going to, show, as a way to show some support. And so he heads over. He just sort of makes it up as he goes along. He has no real contact, so it hops a boat over there and starts to go to try to find his buddies from Vietnam while he's literally carrying a duffel bag full of beer. And nothing is, as we can tell you, nothing is more exciting than a nice warm beer in a hot jungle. That's I'm sure exciting. There's a great cast. Bill Murray plays the bar owner in a kind of an extended cameo, and then there's some other young actors that you might recognize from other films. It's directed by Peter Farrelly, who done a lot of comedic movies in the 90s and most recently Green Book. The movie, its heart is in the right place. Zac Efron, who I like in other movies, I just didn't think he had the emotional heft that was needed. He did well at the beginning, where it's sort of a happy-go-lucky, kick-about kind of guy. But then when he sees the Vietnam and the war and the horror that is any war, I just didn't feel like he had the emotional heft to really bring it through.
He doesn't play roles like that,
though. No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
I thought he was sort of miscast in this role. And the movie, it's a bit disjointed, and it doesn't quite come together. I have some warm feelings for it because it tried, but it just didn't really execute what it set out to do. So all in all, I give this movie a 5 out of 10.
Oh,
so just
man.
not. Unfortunately, these two. It's also on streaming. It's on Apple TV, but maybe you watch it sometime if you're in the mood for it.
It's the weather will be nice this weekend, so just go outside instead, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much.